Hello, this is Dread, and in today's video topic, we are going to be playing Shield Rush World Splitter Void Knight. So, you ever know that feeling when you get back together with your ex for like a one night stand and you feel kind of guilty because you know you shouldn't be doing it, but it feels so satisfying to do? Well, thankfully, I haven't done that for 9 years. But that's how I feel when I play this build. And my biggest problem is I know I shouldn't be playing this build. Why is that? Well, it's because it's bugged to fuck, okay? It is bugged to absolute hell and back. I don't know if you can tell in the footage, but whenever I try to actually utilize Shield Rush, you can get stuck channeling there. And this is the state that Shield Rush has been over the past few years now, and it hasn't been fixed, which is very saddening as when I played it offline, when they changed it that one patch, it was one of the best experiences I ever had in last Epoch, was playing old offline Shield Rush. You can still play offline and play this build right now, so if you are an offline Andy, this is the perfect build for you, as it works completely fine in offline. You can like spam away. But yeah, so due to the bugs, I usually don't play this build, but World Splitter came out. Now, before we talk about this build in more detail, if you haven't already, I'd heavily suggest leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel, as that is the best way of currently supporting me. And also as well, I stream on Twitch as well if you want to see more Last Epoch content in the live format. Now, let's talk about the build. Yeah, World Splitter came out. World Splitter gives you a lot of base crit, a lot of area, a decent amount of crit multi, just for having a skill with a large mana cost. Thankfully, Shield Rush can reach 50 to 60 mana cost very easily thanks to all the nodes inside of its tree because of its massive increased mana cost, but you get to cheese it as you don't actually spend mana on Shield Rush. For the most part, you spend life, but thankfully we're a Void Knight and we can get a lot of leech to make up for the fact that we're sucking up a lot of life, and that allows us to simply spam Shield Rush with a large mana cost to get that giant AoE. Right now we are currently getting around, I think, like 20% base crit and 100% increased AoE because of the size of our Shield Rush, and it's absolutely glorious. It is addicting. It is one of the most addicting drugs ever, just having such a big AoE on Shield Rush. As you can see, it's very, like, just fantastical. I love every second of it. But like I said before, due to the bug, it has caused a lot of issues. You know, I can do bosses. I can do them. But they are nail-biting experiences and they take forever, because if I'm going to do them without dying in any manageable way, I have to play around the bug, and to play around the bug, it means I have to be insanely careful. So I just want to let you know, this build's actually decent for clearing monoliths right now, even with the bugs, but for bosses, it's a little bit more of a nail-biting experience, but thankfully, you know, One day, maybe they'll fix the bug, and then once that happens, it'll be great because the damage is there, the survivability is there, everything is there where how it should be, all the stats are there, the clear feels amazing, everything is there. I could have pushed this build easily to like 700 to 1000 corruption if the bugs weren't there, and that would have been all great and dandy, but due to the fact that the bugs are there, I limited my experience to 500 corruption. It's been kind of crazy over the past few days because I've been trying to push my builds at least to like 600 corruption every single one, but I really just did not want to push this any farther because making the boss fights last longer and longer is not the way to go to make this build feel good currently with the bugs. But like I said, if the bug wasn't there, I could just simply just right click on the boss and delete them very quickly, as Shield Rush has the DPS capabilities for that. Now, I don't believe World Splitter is the main way of going about damage on this build. I think it's cool that we can go World Splitter, but I am pretty sure that if I slapped on a sword catcher and get that massive +6 to skills on Shield Rush, I believe that would be the way to go for single target damage. So in theory, there might be a world where we take a swap where we utilize a sword catcher with base crit on it and use that for single target and then use World Splitter for AoE. Who knows? Maybe that's the way to go. I do find the AoE on, like, it's actually kind of funny, speaking about the AoE. The AoE on the World Splitter version is so large that not only did I have to cut some AoE from the build, because you can get way more if you want to, I also can hit bosses from a range. So like for instance, when they finally go ahead and nerf Volatile Reversal and I don't have to be in melee range every single time I want to play any build on Sentinel, it means that you know, like I can actually fight bosses at a range with this build. Like I can kind of just be a decent part away. Like, you know, Orbis can't, you know, one tap me with his melee attacks if I'm like, you know, like a few meters away like I am with Shield Rush. It's actually kind of satisfying having a melee build that's, you know, ranged, right? It's kind of cool that the AoE is that big. And like I said, you can make it much bigger. I don't have all points of AoE inside the tree. I don't have AoE on my amulet. I do have AoE on my gloves though. I don't have AoE on the World Splitter itself. You can get like a large amount of percent AoE as well on the suffix. So like that's fun. Speaking of, I actually got really lucky. I got Melee Void on my World Splitter. I only had one LP World Splitter and a few non-LP ones, and I got this one. I'll tell you guys, I am completely broke in trade right now, and trade is kind of dead. Like in terms of currency, this build was done on a shoestring budget. Thankfully, I had the Titan Heart and the boots already, you know, but, you know, this build was being done, like the damage portions of this build were being done on a very small, thin, micro thin budget. If you were to do it properly, you'd probably have +4 to Shield Rush on your Titan Heart. That would probably be the way to go. I just didn't have a Titan Heart like that because, you know, like I haven't had the ability to buy one in a while because just, you know, the market's been kind of dead, and I have like well over like I think 800 items on the market, and none of them are selling because no one's playing Merchant's Guild right now. But yeah, before I ramble too much, with all that being said, let's go in game and talk about the build more in detail, shall we? All right, here we are in game with the character. Let's go over the skills, shall we? So for Shield Rush here, it's pretty simple. Simply, we take Synchronous Charge into Mana Memory, and then the Rush of Sacrifice. This makes it so that pretty much Shield Rush costs no mana to utilize, and you mainly use health to use it, which is great. You do need a decent amount of leech if you're stacking HP on this build, as it is a massive 15% health cost, so you need to be ready to deal with this downside. But if you have enough leech, this is not a big deal. Then we grab 4 out of 5 points of a Consuming Path currently. I would like to put in more points, but I don't have enough more damage. I don't have plus levels on the tree and all that. Then we grab Dark Rush. Not only does it split our damage a little bit between Fizz and Void, it also gives us the ability to use it without a shield, and that increased mana cost is actually a plus to us, as the higher mana cost we have, the better World Splitter works for it. Then we grab 2 points Travel into Warrior's Entrance. 7 out of 8 points in splintering impact, then 1 point into echoes of the charge. So we do we hit twice. Now, what we would want to do if we had a +4 to shield rush is we'd want to grab Descent to the Void for another 20% mana cost for even more AoE, and also Dark Regression for even more AoE and base crit. Then if we, like, for some reason had a sword catcher, we could run the 8% base crit here. We could get some like crit multi here. Like we can get some less damage taken. Like there's a lot of different things that we could do if we manage to have plus levels, but sadly I don't have plus levels right now. But yeah, that's pretty much Shield Rush. Stereotypical anomaly setup. Nothing too crazy, simply going for the crit chance, going for the duration and the persist, going for the leech stuff, increased leech so that we can sustain our shield rush. Then reversal, stereotypical reversal setup, simply 60% increased damage taken from enemies. Then we go for the global void. Half of our damage is void, half of it is physical, but this still gives us a 48% more damage. So if you translate that, that's about 24% more damage overall. So great, right? Then Abyssal Echoes here. We're grabbing the 20% more damage with blind. We're grabbing the Time Rot chance, which matters for the reversal, of course. Then we're grabbing the extra cast of Abyssal Echoes, then going for Armor Shred to help us get those juicy Armor Shred stacks. And that's pretty much it for Abyssal Echoes. You could go for Fragility as well. You could do that. That's probably the way to go, to be honest, as well. And that's pretty much it for Abyssal Echoes. Now for Soldiers of Hope, we are running a a Orion Sun Seal. We have 3 casts of sigils all the time. That gives us a nice amount of increased damage per void. Gives us a nice amount of flat void as well, because this gets converted to flat void. Lots of increased damage, just all around, just lots of extra damage from sigils, and it means we don't have to actually cast sigils as we're doing a bunch of like shield rush shenanigans. We don't want to be casting our sigils, so it automatically takes that for us, and we can also kick that sigils off our bar thanks to Orions, which means we can focus on utilizing lunge, which is great. Such a nice quality of life upgrade this ring is. That's pretty much it for the skills. Let's talk about the passives that matter. So for the passives that matter, mainly less damage taken, vitality, some strength, of course. That's pretty much it for the base tree. For Paladin here, just some Fizz Pen here. So essentially, the way you want to be thinking about hybrid setups of damage, since we're split between physical and void, instead of saying 16% pen, this says 8% pen, quote unquote, right? Just half it. And that's still really strong. Grabbed a few nodes of elemental res to cap myself, and then eventually you'd want to fill out Valor if you can manage the points for the extra flat HP. Forge Guard actually is usable this patch, which is great for a few different reasons. Strength is always acceptable. We don't really care about the bleed chance, we just care about the strength. Then we get 20 flat damage. We don't really care where it comes from, because a lot of our generic, like a lot of our percent damage is generic melee damage, as you can see here. Just generic melee damage percent all around, or strength percent as well. So, and eventually if you ran like shield rush percent on your chest, like, you could do a lot more damage if you had a tier 7 shield rush on your body armor or whatever, right? To give you an idea of the kind of chest you want to be looking for, I believe I have it right here. Where is it? Yeah, this is the kind of chest you want to be looking for, except instead of that percent void, it should be an extra melee affix. It's just my Titan heart. It's just too good, damn good to give up right now. So yeah, so just as much flat melee as possible. Then crit chance, we have like, I think 25% base crit, so getting a little bit of crit is nice on the tree, which is great. Then some crit multi for free, why not? I'm actually using 2 points in this. I thought this node was terrible, but turns out it's actually okay, because it saves you idle slots, so you can put in more HP idols. That's kind of funny, and it especially helps when you're using 2-handed unique weapons that you can't get many affixes on very easily, or you don't want to like put shred on your gloves or your amulet or whatever. So this actually helps you significantly in sometimes. So I'm actually happy that this exists. I do mourn the loss of the old hammer and anvil though. Then 5 points of crushing blow. I think this gives us like 25% more damage. It does not show on the tooltip, just so you know. Also as well, another thing, the base crit of World Splitter also does not show on the tooltip. So that's why your tooltip DPS is so low. If you go and grab like 100% crit shrine, like it'll jump up significantly. And that's pretty much it for the passives that matter. Of course, like the flat melee void, the melee leech, like the time rot chance here to get the 12 stacks of time rot on single target, the flat HP, then grabbing Avatar of Regret. We grabbed this because it increased our mana cost by 10%. I'm not entirely sure if it's worth it, but it definitely feels worth it, as getting as much mana cost as possible would be great. Like eventually, like I said, with the plus levels, you want to grab even more mana costs, but I can't really do that right now because, you know, I don't have plus levels. And that's pretty much it for the passives. Let's talk about blessings. So for blessings, I'm just going crit multi, going lightning res, all resistance, because on my helmet I have reduced damage from crits, and on my belt I have reduced damage from crits. So right now, currently, that is why we're not running crit avoid here. Then armor, and then armor, of course, as always. Not really too different with those. Hopefully one day they'll change those so you actually have a choice between blessings. But yeah, always go with that. I don't have frailty on the build, by the way. You definitely want to get a source of frailty. That would help a lot. And that's pretty much it for the blessings. Let's talk about the gearing. So for helmet, you just want the levels to random melee skills for the melee percent damage, then HP eventually on the helmet on a better base probably. Amulet here, I just put this on because it had resistances and crit multi and like shred and stuff like that. Eventually you'd want a better amulet, but like right now this is what I had, because before I woke up this morning I was completely broke. This is still completely broke in the grand scheme of things, but I was completely broke, like 400k gold this morning, and then I woke up to some cells. Then World Splitter, of course, eventually you'd want flat damage on it, either melee physical or melee void. It's nice that this build actually cares about both. Eventually a 2 LP one with melee physical and melee void would be your best in slot, but you'd also probably be satisfied with crit multi. Either way, like, that would be nice. Then for chest here, Titan Heart all the way, except instead of that flat health, you'd want tier 7 Shield Rush or tier 5 Shield Rush or whatever. Just that massive melee percent damage goes a long way. Ring here, Orion Sun Seal, you just want some crit on it probably. This helps you out immensely, as it just automates one of your skills for you, because when you're doing your shield rush stuff, you don't want to be casting other skills for the most part. Shattered Chains just gives us the massive percent melee damage on it, and also as well gives us the more melee damage as well. That percent melee damage goes a long way for us because, like I said, we are split between void and physical, so we want to be getting as much generic percent as possible. Siphon of Anguish just has T7 life on it and some, you know, chance to apply Doom for our Doom stacks. Then for our gloves here, area, crit, HP, that on this base is actually perfect pair of gloves, pretty much. Boots here, just HP on a pair of Solarion step. Either HP or movement speed is acceptable. You do need to run a little bit of physical res on your idols to make it work, but it's definitely worth it. Then for relic here, T7 crit multi, strength, resistance HP maybe, something like that. And then for idols, you just want as many HP idols as humanly possible. Sadly, right now, last Epoch, the meta for HP stacking is to, of course, stack as much HP as possible. This is to make up for the fact that I don't have HP here, I don't have HP here, I don't have as much HP here, I don't have HP here, and I don't have HP here. This is pretty much to make up for the fact I don't have HP. If you had the correct rolls on everything and your gear was all nice and dandy, you could easily hit like 6k life on this build if you really wanted to. But that's with like perfect gear and stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the gearing, and that's pretty much it for the character. Like I said, probably don't play this build due to the lag involved, but and all the bugs thanks to World Splitter. Well, that being said, this has been Dread, off to go do something else. Bye.